Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast. Today we're going to talk about real estate professionals and who you should think about hiring and having in your corner for either buying or selling homes. Our lovely office manager, Marianne, is going to ask us some of the most common questions we get, and we will do our very best to answer them.
This is Marianne.
Yes.
She will be acting like God and asking us the questions.
Yes. So if you hear a voice coming from above, it's not God, it's just Marianne, who's like our God. But
She is our God. So these are some of the questions that we get asked that Marianne gets emailed, text stuff about from our podcast and from our other social events.
Yes.
So we thought we would just do a
And
podcast
if you have
on
any
it.
questions that you want us to answer in a later podcast, please just send them over to us and we'll do our best to answer them all.
Admin@johnson-team.com is Marianne's email, and she will get those questions answered for you.
How do you choose a real estate agent?
You go to johnson-team.com. No, I'm just kidding. I think to choose the right real estate agent, there's a number of things that you should be doing and questions you should be asking. The obvious one is their experience. How, I think it's you should interview them and you should ask them some questions as far as how much business they do every year. How many deals have they done? Do they do typically? Not for bragging rights or anything like that, but you want to make sure, just like if you're having surgery, you want to hire somebody who does this on a day in, day out basis, not once or twice a year, just because, when you're doing something routinely, regularly, you're sharp, you're skilled at it. Nothing should surprise you.
And again, I think we're in a review society. 5 years ago, probably, you were always on me about check reviews, and I just wasn't Google reviews. I just wasn't that guy. And now, what I've realized is that, Google reviews, you can't falsify. We have north of, well over 200. And what's great is that you can't falsify them. So if their Google reviews are there, that's independent people that have given their advice on that particular person.
Yeah.
If somebody had 10 reviews, they're probably, friends and family. They're really not very active.
Yeah.
And also, I was at a Tim Hortons the other day, and it was nasty. The service was bad. The poor people were trying to work their rear ends off. They didn't have enough coverage, enough staff. And then the lady said to me, "Would you mind leaving a Google review? Because it'll be a way of the seller getting, the franchisee owner."
Staff?
Yeah, the staff asked me to do that. And I thought, wow, that is a powerful way, because obviously the owners, Tim Hortons company, the owner, the franchisee are probably paying attention to that. So I did.
Yeah.
And
it also it comes down to who you're most comfortable with, obviously, as well, because this is a big thing, big journey you're about to embark on, and you want to have somebody that you're comfortable spending a lot of time with, someone you're comfortable being honest with, and knowing that they're going to do their best and protect you and fight for your interests.
And when you speak to the honesty, somebody might have debt that they want to pay off. Or sometimes, we've had sellers that we said, it doesn't make sense for you to sell.
Yeah.
There's just, your your plan doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. So why don't you regroup and, stay where you are? Because just because somebody, you think you want to sell, once we go through the stuff and figure out.
It's not always the right decision.
And somebody honest with you is just saying.
Same thing with a buyer. They're
100%.
more. Lots of times we'll show a buyer a home, and we have to make sure we point out whether we think it's a good purchase for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As a buyer, why would I want to use a real estate agent? What are the pros of using a real estate agent as a buyer?
So, as opposed to doing it yourself, so a buyer's agent does many things, but obviously first and foremost, they have a working knowledge of the area that you're interested in, the current market. So they're going to source out properties for you as well and find you good options. When it comes time to negotiating, I think that's the biggest impact that a buyer agent would have, because if you want to compare that to buying privately, for instance, it's very uncomfortable for me to go as a person to you, and it's your home that you're selling, and now I'm going to negotiate face to face directly with you. That's very awkward. It's very difficult. It's emotional for me too. It's emotional for you. It's just a bad mix altogether. So you really need that independent party, I feel, both for the buyer and the seller, obviously, like ideally, to negotiate the terms, because there's less friction, less emotion.
And then you also have somebody that's in your corner that's representing you. If you're going to have a divorce, you're not going to, use this. You're not going to try to, negotiate it for yourself, or you're not going to, have a divorce lawyer that's representing both parties, because obviously they're not
independent interest. That's right.
And the biggest thing I say to people is, if you've ever tried to list anything on Craigslist or Kijiji, and you list something for $1 and they offer you 10 cents. Well, that's the same thing where you were speaking to the emotions, because people don't want to face-to-face say, it's listed for $1 million, I'm going to offer you 800,000, because the seller then gets upset and says, get out of here, I don't want to hear it. Where with us as real estate agents, we take that burden when we're going in lower than asking price. We take the hits, and then we tell the buyer, okay, this is what the seller said, but we take the emotion out of it so that we can be logical. Because if people have their house up for sale, majority of the time they want to sell. If people are putting an offer on the seller's house, majority of the time they want to buy. So we just make it. Make it
There's also fiduciary duties that we always have as agents, to do proper homework for you, provide you with comparable sales in the area, give you our opinion, our advice throughout the way, construct the proper offer with the right clauses that you need. If there's a swimming pool or whatever the need is, there's all kinds of things that we need to look out for and put in the offer to protect you. So I think for a buyer, it's very important. It's a difficult thing to do and risky thing to do on your own.
And the biggest thing is that for a buyer, the service is free.
And now, as a seller, why should I use a real estate agent instead of trying to sell my house by myself? For example, like for sale by owner.
Yes. So for why a seller needs an agent is there's umpteen things, but obviously we price the home, we bring them a comparative analysis and help them strategize the best price and the best strategy to get the home sold fast. We get staging involved, we do pre-home inspections, we do professional photography, video, all that kind of stuff to put it out to the marketplace, to give it the most exposure and the best exposure possible. And then obviously a big part of it behind the scenes is our collaboration with other agents as well. Like when you've been in the industry for 20 plus years, you know a lot of the agents that work the area. We do a lot of behind the scenes collaboration with agents and just sort of promoting the property to them, holding open house, just there's a lot that goes into it. And then I think when it comes time to the negotiation, which I've already touched on, it's much more effective when you've got an agent to agent negotiating versus a seller directly to a buyer, or even a seller directly to a buyer's agent. Is never ideal.
Yeah, and again, it talks to exactly the thing. It takes the emotion out, because again, these people sometimes have been in their house for 20 years. There's a lot of emotional stuff. Like, I want to look around my house when I have, our kids all on that board.
Well,
where we have all the
had to sell our own house, remember? And like years ago now, but we were realtors selling our own home, and we were terrible.
Oh, we were the worst people going. We should have never.
It was so wrought with emotion, and things that you just normally wouldn't have. So you don't have the objectivity or anything else. So I think you do yourself a disservice to not use a profession.
Now moving on to another important member of the buying and selling real estate team. What does a real estate lawyer do, and why should I use one?
You can choose one, by referral. We always, we have a professional directory of real estate lawyers that we like, that our clients have all tried and tested and been happy with.
And that's how they get on the list. The client has had to have used them and had a good experience, and that's how they get on the list, because they also get off the list if there's anyone that has and have poor experience. And you have to use a real estate lawyer.
Yes, you have to. They do different functions for different things. If it's a condo that you're purchasing, that's a little bit more in depth than the house, because they have to go through all the financial documents of the corporation and make sure they've got a healthy reserve fund, that they don't have any liens or judgments that are going to be a concern. They'll review rules and regulations, pets, all those kinds of things, so that you know what you're buying into, the building's in good condition, health, like financially. But aside from that, they do title search, make sure everything's going to close with no hitch. the seller's lawyer, they receive the funds. Then once the funds have been received, they pay all the, their bill, the real estate bill, they discharge any mortgages, all that kind of stuff, and then they give you a net check. So you can't do it without a real estate lawyer, but they do have a good purpose.
And again, a real estate lawyer is the key word, because lawyers can practice any law. Lawyer is a lawyer. It just depends on what
it's not
part
complicated, but if you're not used to real estate.
We had a criminal lawyer that was doing a favor for his brother, and he didn't know anything he was doing. He's probably a great criminal lawyer, terrible real estate lawyer. So just, again, use somebody, just like we were talking earlier, use somebody that practices law, just like, they practice real estate on a full-time basis. Make sure they're a full-time real estate lawyer and they don't do, other things.
Yeah.
And how much does a real estate lawyer cost me as a buyer?
For a buyer, you're probably looking at $1,500 to $2,000.
And that includes title insurance. And title insurance is an important part of the legal fee. That protects you for if there's anything that, let's say, a common thing is a fence is built on the neighbor's lawn. Title insurance will protect you so that if it is, they'll take down the fence and put it on your property. A garage.
Yeah, a good lawyer would never allow you to purchase without title.
Yeah, it's pretty much done. I know, probably 10 years ago it was 50-50 with people using title insurance. Is a no-brainer. Everyone would do it. And speaking of title insurance, I'm sure you've seen on the news lately that 2 people had their houses sold while they were on vacation. Title insurance protected both of those.
Although that should never have happened.
No, 100%. But that's a whole other podcast.
Yes, so I hope that answered the question. We always encourage our clients when we give them the names, call and they'll give you a quote. The lawyers over the phone. So
I wouldn't go with the cheapest. I wouldn't go with the most expensive. Probably somewhere in the middle, because again, it's a pretty simple transaction, but it also goes sideways. So you want somebody that's been around the block.
And sellers typically would be a little bit less because they have, like I said, it's less involved with
probably
the buyer's lawyer. It is a little bit more than.
What is a home stager? Do you need to stage your home as a seller?
I would say usually yes. I mean, there are definitely homes that we walk into sometimes where it's absolutely, designer lives there and it's beautiful and whatever. I still usually have my stager go through and just do a consultation because there's still sometimes things that she sees with her eye that she might change around. But typically, most people, I would certainly stage my own home if I was selling it, but so yes, they're very important. It's home stagers. A lot of people make the mistake. They don't understand the difference between a designer and a home stager. They're very different. Designers will work with what your tastes are, what your likes are, what your vibe is. They really get to know you and build things around your taste. Stagers are the complete opposite. Stagers are there to make everything as neutral and vanilla as possible, not in a boring way, but just in a way that transcends everybody. It's gonna appeal to as many people as possible.
And the thing is, again, you got to remember, real estate is a very emotional feel. When I'm working with buyers, I tell them that we might have to see 60 or 100 homes, but when you walk in the home and your stomach feels like this is the right one, then that's telling you it's good, because it's not like a pair of shoes. This is an emotional purchase and you want to be emotionally attached. But on the flip side, when you walk into a home and there's all kinds of family photos and all kinds of personal stuff, then that has the opposite reaction, because this is somebody's home. I don't want
to instantly.
Exactly, because they think, I'm stepping on, or you want to think that they're going to make their own dreams. They don't want to see other people's dreams or realities of.
And people think, staging doesn't work. And the furniture doesn't come with it. They think that, but it absolutely works. I would say
10% increase.
You walk into a room that's beautifully lit. It's nice and clear. It's neutral colors. It just has this great sense to it. Or walk into the same room and it's cluttered and it's messy and it's overpacked with stuff and it's got weird colors. It's a different feel altogether. Same as if you were selling your car. You're going to sell your car. You're going to take it and get it detailed and waxed and smelling nice, and the tires that's shined up and everything, because somebody's gonna, go and buy that car and think, wow, I can see myself in this. Whereas if you just,
Yeah,
throw your car out there.
and stagers are not all the same. We work with a stager that actually rolls up her sleeve and gets her hands dirty, and we'll put up pictures and help move clutters. Some stagers go around with a checklist and give it all to the seller. So we try to take it as much
Active staging,
yeah,
for sure. But yeah, staging is very, very important. Even with vacant homes. I'd say vacant homes is surprising because everybody thinks that the rooms are going to look so much bigger.
Yes.
When the furniture is removed, and it actually has the opposite effect. The rooms shrink. And so furniture placed in the right way really helps people visualize. It's funny because I've shown vacant places where it's just, you know, the size of the room, and people are like, oh, I don't think the bed and the 2 end tables are going to fit, but they definitely fit.
Yeah,
but
it was
if
funny.
you stage them and you've got a queen and 2 end, then it eliminates that altogether. So the furniture helps to give it the room functionality and.
Yeah, and then always the bottom line is it sells faster and you make more money, and that's part of our job as real estate agents is try to get you the most amount of money in the shortest period of time with the least hassle in your house. And just to put a cherry or to finish this off, I just had a client that was, when you speak to vacant properties, she had to map out everything, so she got tape and figured out everything to see if it fit because she just could not visualize.
Probably because it was
100%.
What is a mortgage broker? Why wouldn't I just use my local banker?
Nothing wrong with local bankers. If you have a bank that you really are confident in and they're giving you a great rate and taking care of you, by all means, you can go to your banker. We tend to like to work with mortgage brokers for a number of reasons. Namely, they're accessible. I mean, we all joke about bankers' hours, but it's a real thing, right? I mean, if it closes, you're not talking to that banker or banking person until the next work day. Whereas mortgage brokers, I mean, unfortunately, real estate never falls in a box of any timeline, right? It's always outside of usually office hours. So if we need to talk to somebody about the finances at 9:30 at night, well, you're not talking to a bank then, but we can usually call our mortgage broker at that time of night. So that is very helpful. Plus, they're very good at, like, again, the banks tend to be it's got to fit in a box typically, right? That's just the way
cookie
their
cutter
mentality is. Whereas mortgage brokers will look at the file, package the profile to meet the needs of the lenders. They know the lenders. They're not married to any one particular lender, so they're going to research
They're going to get you
product
the best
for you.
Best deal.
If you have a goal to pay it off quickly, they're going to really make sure they get you in a product that there's no or few or lenient prepayment penalties, all kinds of things. They'll just package you the right product. So
yeah,
I think
they shop you around to 50 lenders. That's the way I look at it, and they get you the best opportunities, the best rates, and the best plans or ability to what your goals and needs are. And if they don't get you the right deal or the right opportunity, they don't get paid. So until they deliver it, they don't get paid. And I like working on that because I like people who have skin in the game. So they're working for my best interest, not the bank's best interest.
Yes, I always also find with mortgage brokers, they're great because they are self-employed. They're just like us. And so the mortgage brokers, at least that we use, when they put somebody into a variable rate, they're very good at keeping in touch with them and keeping them up to date with the rates and changes.
Prime example, with the interest rates going up between March and now, they got all kinds of calls, our clients saying, now is the time to lock into that rate because we foresee this going there. So that's a very good point too. Yeah, so this the other thing that happens too is that I have a client that's pre-approved with the bank because they have a great relationship with the bank. They like the bank. And then they tell me the rate, and I think, that rate sounds a little high. Maybe you should get it, a second opinion with our one of the mortgage brokers we partner with, and sure enough, it's like 0.75. They don't give you the discounted rate. Then the guy goes back to the bank, and then the bank matches the mortgage broker's rate, and they were willing to screw you. Why would you give them? But they haven't earned your business. Like the banks make a ton of money on interest on mortgage.
Yeah.
So, give it to a bank that appreciates your business.
What is a home inspector, and do I need one? Both as a buyer and a seller.
Yes and yes. So, first of all, for a seller, we have always done pre-listing home inspections for most of our listings, at least. Especially in the the competitive climate that we were just in, at least we felt like that we were providing the buyers with some peace of mind to be able to go through a report and see what the professionals had to say, because they very often, when it was multiple offers, they didn't have that luxury of doing one. So now that the market has changed at least more favorably for buyers in that regard, we're seeing home inspection conditions come back, which is good news for buyers. And definitely you should get a home inspection. A good home inspector will at least go through all the main mechanics of the home. I mean, really, you're looking for major things. We're not looking for little things. We usually tell people 1% of the purchase price you should put aside, you should expect in miscellaneous expenses approximately. It's really big things that we're looking for, because we're not buying a brand new home. There's going to be things for sure. If we did a home inspection on our house right now, there's going to be stuff, but it's big stuff you're looking for. Foundational problems,
water,
roof, asbestos, mold, anything like that. A good home inspector is going to find. And so I definitely think if you're spending hundreds of thousands, millions on a purchase of a home, you should definitely spend on average 500 plus ish on a good home inspection.
Yeah, and again, you're buying a resale home, you're not buying a new home, so you should expect, I always tell people 1% of the purchase price in miscellaneous things. These are things that you don't have to do today, but you should do. You know, when we bought our house, the home inspector, went around to this stuff and said, plug this hole out here. And of course I didn't, because I'm Mr. Handy, not. And it was $2 fix, but it cost me $550, or cost us $550 to have PCO come to get the wasp out. Had I done that miscellaneous fix, which still, and I think that's the thing.
That's a small thing. It's really big things, and I think that's the.
But that's the things that home inspectors will find. Like it's like again, there's a long list of small things, and again, you make a plan to do it. Had I done that plan that I advise all my people to do,
and you learn things in a home inspection too, right? They're going to show you where the shutoffs are and.
They walk you around the house for 3 hours. It's phenomenal. Just spend like 3 hours in the house and just learn about the house, and then especially
plus it gives you a chance to go back and you said spend a couple hours in the house again.
Exactly.
So that wraps up our podcast for today. I hope that helped answer most of your questions. Thank you, Marianne, for facilitating that and asking all those great questions. Again, if you guys have any questions that you want answered in future podcasts, please send them to Marianne at admin@johnson-team.com. And we hope you join us next time.